Welcome to this vigil for the climate. This is the first movement of a two-movement action. Tomorrow at 8 here, 8 a.m. we'll have an interfaith service with the involvement of various faith groups in Geelong. We were going to have a full overnight vigil tonight, but mainly because of the turn in the weather and the fact that things are forecast to deteriorate as the night goes on and into tomorrow morning. And I heard from a friend who's an employee of the Geelong City Council this morning that they've been advised to stay off the roads. I thought, well, just to be on the safe side, and for these sorts of events, I've learnt it's always good to err on the side of safety. We've decided to truncate the vigil so that we'll have this first part of the vigil which will finish at 9, and then that will be it. So that there won't be anything, the vigil won't continue overnight, so we'll gather next at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning for the interfaith service. We've got someone coming in with umbrellas. A very big umbrella, so I'll have to take that down. Just to say, this is organised. This is an Australia-wide action, and Pacific as well. Pacific-wide, there's a particular focus on the Indigenous people of this country and also the Pacific Island communities. So, with that in mind, without further ado, I would like to thank Father Barry and the people of Christchurch, Geelong, for their hospitality in opening up the church for this gathering tonight and tomorrow, and ask him to give a welcome on behalf of the parish and also to give an acknowledgement of country. Thank you.
We begin by acknowledging the Wallumerong people who are the traditional custodians of the country we're on today, who took care of the environment with such wisdom. We lament with sorrow that this land was never ceded, nor was there ever any treaty made. We pay our respect to their elders, past and present, and young leaders now emerging, and we stand with them in their ongoing and courageous struggle for their human rights and protection of country. In the words of the Aboriginal poet Jonathan Pugh, today we stand in footsteps millennia old. May we acknowledge the traditional owners whose cultures and customs have nurtured and continue to nurture this land since men and women awoke from the great dream. We honour the presence of these ancestors who reside in the imagination of this land and whose irrepressible spirituality flows through all creation.
So tomorrow, as part of the action, which will become apparent, I think, through the media in the course of tomorrow, significant religious leaders around Australia and in the Pacific will be signing a series of demands to our respective governments for stronger action on reducing carbon emissions. But I've got a press embargo on saying anything more than that. It's very exciting, really, in my ordinary, boring life, to be told we can't say too much until tomorrow morning. So apparently it's going to be picked up by significant media outlets, which is a necessary part of making our wishes and desires known to our leaders. So it's going to be the Christian contribution tonight in this beautiful Christian church, and it's speaking of acknowledgement of country, and it comes mainly from the inspiration I received at the Darrinjung country north of the Hawkesbury, where earlier in the year I had a 40-day or 30-day retreat in a Coptic monastery. And this is part of an ongoing friendship I have with the Coptic Christian community. So I lived in the heart of their monastic community for 30 days. And part of the regimen that I loved most was midnight prayers. And in the midnight prayers, let me say, prayers during the night are common to every spiritual tradition. It's a very special time to pray. And in the Coptic tradition, which is very ancient, there's a lot of praying along with creation. And so I've selected parts of their chants that pick up that particular theme. The other theme that's picked up in the first Hus, as it's called, Hus, is the great Exodus, the story of Moses and the children of Israel leaving the bondage and slavery in Egypt, which is the foundational Christian myth, really, of deliverance. It's what baptism is based on. And so it's particularly appropriate, I think. But mind you, I enjoyed every morning at 4 o'clock chanting my way across the Red Sea with Moses and the people of Israel being delivered, and re-entering my baptism, the mystery of my baptism, with horse and rider being thrown into the sea. It's a great place. It's a great journey to make every day. In the Christian tradition, in the Western tradition, we usually do it once a year at Easter, but every day in the Coptic tradition. But the reason it's close to me personally is that monastery is in the bush where I grew up hiking, and we grew up in land that was very rich in the vestiges of rich Aboriginal culture, but of course we didn't know anything about it. And I went to school with people whose, certainly their great-grandparents would have been part of the frontier wars in that part of the world. And so there was a great blanket of silence. But not so anymore. The Darrinjung people are recovering their culture and language and telling the stories of their country once again. And so I hiked there every afternoon. I would hike around that country. And often I would light a little fire and read the Uluru Statement from the Heart and pray that as part of my retreat. So this series of chants now, which we will now undertake, there are only 7 chants. There'll be one every 10 or 11 minutes. I'll begin by sounding the gong. Then the chant will run. They're from between 5 and 6 minutes. Then there'll be silence. Feel free to adopt a more comfortable position if you want to sit, or come up, light a candle, sprinkle some incense on the coals if you like. In those silences. And then when it's time to do another chant, I'll sound the bell again and I'll get the next chant going. Now you've all got a sheet of paper, that sheet of paper, that's the text of each of the chants. So you'll see that the first one is just sort of a wake-up thing, and then we go into the Exodus story, and then after that it's pretty much the Psalms praising God along with creation. And I had, during those times in the early hours of the morning, I felt that I was really fulfilling my vocation as a human being, apart from anything else, standing with creation as a priest in creation, realising that we've got such a lot of work to do, but all the same, the dignity of of being made in the image of God, of our vocation as sons and daughters of God. And so I'd often revisit those words in St. Paul, in Romans. I consider the sufferings of this present time not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed to us. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. And the way basically I read that is, us human beings, we've got to get our act together. We've got to step up. There's no other way forward. We've got to fulfill our vocation as priests of creation, being placed in the garden to tend and to treasure this amazing diversity of our planet. And that diversity is reflected in the faith groups that are in Geelong and which are in Australia and around the world. That rich diversity of culture and faith and language is part of the beauty. And so that's why it's so important that us as people of faith, we stand together in our common humanity and for creation. So please relax, walk around, light candles, put some incense on the... let me say too, the icon is a gift from the Coptic community of some friends of mine. It's the escape of the Holy Family to Egypt, which of course is a very precious part of the story, the Jesus story for the Copts, who are Egyptian of course. But also the Holy Family in their escape to Egypt. They represent all the displaced and poor people who, especially in the instance of climate emergency, are getting the dirty end of the stick as we speak.
Glory be to you, O lover of